Welcome to Storyflix. In this video, we will explain Somewhere Only We Know. This movie tells the story of a Chinese student who delves into her grandmother's life and discovers her own sense of self in the process. What is the story of the journey to find her identity? Let's find out in Somewhere Only We Know. Somewhere Only We Know begins by showing a young woman thinking about her life after a breakup. The woman named Jin Tian seems to be living a gloomy life alone after her grandmother, Chen Lanxin, died. She then decided to move to Prague, where her grandmother had also lived. To forget her life, which she felt was so grey, Tian went to a nightclub and had fun. She deliberately dressed differently than usual and also wore a curly wig. Tian was drunk and dancing in the nightclub uncontrollably. Until in the end, a handsome man seemed to try to help and took her out of the club. This man named Peng Zeyang intends to take Tian home. Unfortunately, before he could ask where Tian's home address was, she was already unconscious. The next day, Tian woke up confused because she was in a strange place. But she was not alone because a little girl was with her in the room. After that, Zeyang entered the room and Tian remembered that this man had brought her to his house last night. Then Zeyang asked her to get ready because he would take her home. Long story short, Tian went home and she was in a hurry to go to campus. But when she was on her way to class, she got a call from a stranger who said he would send her some letters. Confusingly, she said yes and entered the class. After class, a classmate offered her and another girl to work as waitresses at a wedding. They accepted it. The scene shifts to Tian and her friend who are working as waiters at a wedding. Unexpectedly, when Tian was serving guests, she saw Zeyang, who was also working as a musician there. She ignored him until the party was almost over. She went for a walk alone to take a break from the crowd. At that time, Zeyang followed her. After conversing for some time, Tian asked Zeyang for help translating the letter she had received earlier. The letter was from Josef Novak, who gave the news to Chen Lanxin, Tian's grandmother. In his letter, Joseph explained why they had to separate and not talk to each other for 30 years.
I feel like you are there.
Tian was quite surprised. She then thanked Zeyang and left. After she left, Zeyang smiled sweetly at her. The next morning after the wedding party, Tian and Zeyang's friends who already knew each other decided to visit Zeyang's house. Although Tian objected, she couldn't help but go with them. At Zeyang's house, they were greeted by a little girl who had met Tian before. The girl named Nini ran to hug Zeyang and called him Papa. That attracted the attention of friends, who then asked if Zeyang was married. He explained that he was not married, but was raising his daughter alone. Besides Nini, Zeyang's mother also recognizes Tian as a drunk girl who was there before. Tian shyly greeted Zeyang's mother and said that now she had returned to the house consciously. When his friends gathered, Zeyang suddenly took Tian for a walk on the hill not far from his house. He told about his past and his mother, who became depressed because of his father's affair. Tian then entertained Zeyang with her own story. Then she suddenly felt embarrassed and ran away. But this time Zeyang didn't let her go. He chased Tian and they kissed. Then he carried Tian to return home. The next day, Tian looked for the letter's sender at the old building, Josef Novak. Unfortunately, she couldn't find Joseph in the building. But she met an old woman who turned out to know the figure of Josef Novak. The old woman explained that Joseph, who was a doctor, had lived in the area but had moved a long time ago. She also explained that Novak already had a wife and children. Tian was surprised to hear her explanation because she remembered the contents of Joseph's letter to her grandmother. She also kept on hearing the old woman's words about Joseph. When she was panicking alone, she called Zeyang. Coincidentally, Zeyang was busy practicing the piano, so he didn't hear his phone ringing. Meanwhile, Tian was getting more panic and suddenly remembered when her fiancé broke up with her. In her memory, she was wearing a white wedding dress and tried to call her fiancé many times, but he didn't pick up. In this panic situation, Tian ran to Zeyang's house. Zeyang's mother opened the door, was surprised and asked why Tian had come back. But Tian ignored her and ran inside to meet Zeyang. After meeting Zeyang and feeling calmer, she also told him about Joseph and her grandmother. Lanxin was not Tian's biological grandmother, but her father's aunt who chose to be single and not married. Then Tian asked if Zeyang believed in love. But Zeyang said that love is childish and he doesn't believe it. But Tian said she believed in love. Long story short, Tian spent time at Zeyang's house until night. At that time, Zeyang's mother suddenly burned something in the fireplace. Zeyang approached his mother and knew that his father would come with his new wife. Seeing his mother very sad, he asked his mother to take medicine to calm herself down. But Zeyang's mother refused it. Zeyang's mother insisted she was not crazy and did not need drugs. While Zeyang and his mother were arguing, Tian tried to comfort Nini, who was crying. Suddenly Nini stood up and took a photo of her parents, which was in the drawer. She said that her mother, named Monica, would come soon. The photo and Nini's words made Tian panic again. Her past trauma returns and she is afraid that Zeyang will leave her like her fiancé before. When Zeyang came to her after calming his mother, Tian asked about Monica. They ended up arguing. The scene changes, showing the past of Lanxin and Josef being so happy. They two became close after Josef lost his wife during the war. At that time Josef said he wanted to go to China with Lanxin. The scene also returns to the present and shows Zeyang and Tian at a party. They have made up and their relationship is getting closer. Zeyang helps Tian to find where Lanxin used to live. While matching the photos with the letters in the current place, they found the place where Lanxin and Josef had been. But then Zeyang suddenly got a call from the hospital. Zeyang's mother is sick and is now in the emergency room. He rushed to the hospital and knew that his mother had overdosed on sleeping pills. Zeyang waited for his mother to wake up. When she woke up, she warned him not to be like his father, who was an irresponsible man. She asked Zeyang to think more about the future. His mother's words made Zeyang think. He sees Tian from a different perspective, where he questions himself whether he can be responsible for Tian and Nini. When they slept together in the same bed, Zeyang still looked so gloomy and lost in his own thoughts. He doubted whether he could make Tian happy. That thought made Zeyang more distant. The next day on campus, he only saw Tian from afar. When Tian asked if something was wrong, Zeyang hesitated to answer and chose to hide his feelings, while he was constantly staying away from Tian. This situation made Tian sad. Meanwhile, Zeyang also feels the same way, but he doesn't know what to do. To forget Zeyang, Tian chose to focus on finding out about Josef and Lanxin. The scene then moves back to the past, where Josef suddenly gets a call while he is with Lanxin. The caller informed him that his wife Sarah was still alive. Josef was so surprised and happy that his wife was still alive. He told the news to Lanxin, who unfortunately didn't feel happy. She only said that was good news.
I'm really happy for you.
The news made Lanxin believe there was no hope for her and Josef's relationship. Especially when Josef has managed to meet again with Sarah. She chose to leave. Time passed and one day, Josef came to Lanxin's house. Lanxin opened the door and looked at Josef. Josef said that he missed her. Then they kissed. They decided to be together because Sarah had memory loss at that time. The scene again shifts to Tian, who has found Josef. She listened to Josef's story and stood up when she knew the truth. Tian left Josef because she felt Josef's relationship with her grandmother was wrong. Unfortunately, the scene changed again when Tian came to Josef's funeral 1 week later. It turned out that Josef died not long after they met. On the other hand, Zeyang searched Tian at his house but couldn't find her. He seemed so messy and looked for Tian everywhere. Until he remembers his promise to Tian first. If they can't talk to each other, then they will meet somewhere. He ran to that place. Fortunately, he was correct, and Tian was waiting for him there. Zeyang approached and apologized for his behavior to Tian. He asked Tian to be with him forever. Tian hit him and called him ridiculous, but in the end, she accepted the statement. The film ends by showing Zeyang and Tian who can finally be together. The moral that can be learned from this movie is the power of love that cannot be erased by time and circumstances. Like the love of Josef and Lanxin, also Tian and Zeyang